for this week's edition of Essie and Scrappy. Lucas DeSilva, how are things for you, given that, and we're going to get to this in a few minutes, about your duels, but
Yeah.
how are you feeling the nerves of pulling together an event?
It's nerves in a couple ways. First, a quick shout out to Fat and Scrappy's only other employee, titled the Lucas producer. That would be my mother, who has helped me out a lot in kind of getting the logistical side of things, because she's like a mega genius logistically and figuring things like that out and ideas. And I love her, and she's incredible, and she's been helping out so much. I can't put it into words. Obviously, shout out to Level Up, Compound, Morse Fitness, Reverence, Wolf Pack, Money Team out of Louisiana, the ones coming down. A couple teams pulled out a little later, so it's not as big as I would have liked it to be, but 7 good matches. I'm really excited. Like you said, we'll get to it, but
Yeah, we'll
I'm
get to
super
it. Yeah,
excited. You can't tell the frizz level of my hair we're through the roof, lads. Through the roof.
I didn't know it could get any frizzier, and yet look at it.
It's
So
outrageous.
we've got a lot going on in the Southeast, across the nation, with everything that's happening in wrestling and everything else. But before we get to that, this past week, a member of the Georgia wrestling family was hit hard by an accident that happened. I'll let you take it from there, but tell us a little bit about kind of who we lost.
Just a quick, I was scrolling through Facebook one day, and I might have been Monday or Tuesday, and I saw a post from Try On Wrestling. That's a school down here in Georgia. For those of you who don't know, it's a 1A school that for past 15 years has been super tough. And in a accident, tragically, Dagan Vaughn passed away. I want to say he graduated 2021.
I don't remember. Yeah, right about there, probably.
Yeah, 2020, 2021. I met Dagan once in my time. But obviously, from all of us here at SE Wrestle and Fat and Scrappy as a whole, thoughts, prayers, well wishes, not only to Try On Wrestling community, of course, but to the Vaughn family. From what I could read, it was some type of an accident, and I can only imagine what type of strain that puts on a family, let alone in general losing a child. So I just wanted to be sure that we kind of take a quick second and rest in peace, Dagan Vaughn. Of course, kid was a hammer and from all accounts a real one of the good ones. So.
We talked about this at the end of last week's show. With the sheer number of events that are available, and we're not talking about like a small tournament here and a small tournament here and a small tournament here, and they all happen on the same weekend. I mean, we're talking this weekend, the Premier National League, which brought Ironclad up from Alabama and a couple other teams, NHSCA Duals, which if you went to Flow Arena, and Lucas and I were just doing this, trying to find any information is absolutely crazy in tracking down that information on it. And then we had Southeast Regionals in North Carolina. So we had tons of things going on. And, it's not just, it doesn't make it, I think opportunities are great. And we're really busy, but it's got to be hard to decide where to go and which to compete in. I realize, look, let's take Camden County in Georgia as a good example. I saw Jess Wilder, a pitcher Jess, with Ryder and Conlon and Brock Weaver and a few others at Southeast Regionals. Yet we know Bradley Patterson was up wrestling on a team at NHSCA Duals, which is good, and they're both Camden County kids. But it is splitting apart teams to go to different events.
Yeah. This is what we talked about, where it seems as if there's this group at the top of certain organizing bodies, whether it be USA Wrestling, Brutus, NHSCA, whoever it may be, and there's no consideration of hey, for this event to really do its job and be the biggest it could be, we might want to coordinate not hitting other events. Like you would imagine, like you would think that, but obviously they just kind of say, "Hey, we're going to go on our dates and whatever happens happens."
Yeah.
And it makes it not only difficult for coaching staffs, I would imagine, but also how do you as a athlete decide what to go to? Because NHSCA Duals, if you get the call from Kong like I did in my senior campaign of high school, you don't say no to Kong. But by the same token, you're in the freestyle season. You're in locking hands and back arching and 5 points. How do you now expect yourself to go to Virginia Beach, go wrestle with Kong or a Shut, one of these top national programs?
Yeah.
It's tough. And it's tough on the wrestlers in the sense of we're not getting as good of matchups as we might get. So they may not be seeing the same level of competition they would.
Well, I think you actually hit the nail on the head in that if you're if you're an athlete trying to make a decision, do I go here where I can, maybe see this competition, where do I go here? Maybe these people will be here, maybe they won't be here. And then the other part, and this is from a parent perspective, and I have 3 daughters of my own. They didn't wrestle, but I can still feel the pain of the parents. And that, let's see, last weekend or this past weekend, we had those 3. In fact, we're filming this as NHSCA's is finishing today. So
The
keep
final
that in
duels
mind.
are going on as we speak.
That's right. So you got those 3 things. Then next weekend, you've got your duels. You got like a bootleggers type of duels or event up in Tennessee. You've got U20 and U23 world team, the world team trials for U20 and the nationals for U23 and everything else. Every single weekend, it seems like there's something else happening. And man, you would make me grow broke trying to take my kid to all these different things.
And back to back as well. I mean, it's and I blame I don't want to say blame, 'cause that's the wrong word, but like USA Wrestling, for instance, there are times it's really difficult to find USA Wrestling schedule until the month or so out of certain things. And as I can only imagine as a parent, the idea of trying to plan ahead financially for some of these events when you honestly don't know when, and in certain cases where things are. I
Yeah.
mean, if you take Southeastern Region, the past 2 or 3 years has been in Cherokee, North Carolina, and I know the Georgia contingent is not happy. And from what I've read, neither is Florida for that matter. So that I hear a lot of word that there's a vote coming to move it. The cities I keep hearing are Savannah and Orlando. Those are the cities I keep hearing. I don't know. I could be wrong, and if I am, fine. I'm not saying but this is what I'm hearing through the grapevine.
Well,
Savannah and Orlando.
So I'm like, I don't want to necessarily I live in Georgia now. I'm from Florida and I've lived in Alabama. But I do think there is something to be said for whatever the middle of the footprint is of the Southeast region as
Yeah.
USA Wrestling defines it. Sure seems like the fairest thing to do. I mean, if Louisiana is part of the footprint, putting it out in Louisiana, it's way out west. It's a burden for lots of people to get there. Just same as if you put it in Miami. If you put it in
A
Miami,
city
that's
that
far.
I've always been confused. Why is somewhere like Chattanooga never got a look?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or Nashville?
I don't know. I don't know how I don't know how all that works. So
Yeah, like I know it. I know it's like USA Wrestling. They split the regions, and then it's the team Georgia, Florida, Alabama. I think it's those groups that have to vote on it.
I
And
think
I'm just
so.
saying, like, there's a lot of great cities, and I've never been to, as it's been wrote on Facebook, good old Cherokee, North Carolina. But I'd imagine there are more suitable locations for everybody. I would imagine.
And suitable in terms of
The logistics of hotels.
centrality of the event.
Well, and hotels and amenities from what I heard, but as well,
Yeah.
that could just be people looking for a reason to complain. 'Cause that also happens too, by the way. Let's not lie. We won't
No.
get into that. That's a
All
different
right.
discussion for another day.
Let's move on. Let's start with the Premier National League. Really, the only team that was from the Southeast that headed that direction, we're just going to touch on it very briefly, was Ironclad. You and I paid a little bit of attention to it. Give me one or two things that you kind of noticed from the event.
You know, the event basically had 12-ish teams in it. Um, t- I'm not counting Daniel Cormier as a team, by the way. There were two kids there, one at 16U, one at juniors. I'm not counting them as a team. I love you, DC. Please don't eat me. But point being, beyond that, so about 12 teams. Ironclad, if I'm not mistaken, in 16U finished in like eighth. Juniors, I want to say finished in ninth, somewhere in that range. They battled. I mean, look, you got brackets with Bo Bassett and Jax Force meeting in the finals. I mean, come on now. Like, and that's my problem with the PNL was this. In an event so big, and the idea is wonderful. Don't get this twisted. The idea is beautiful, but you're mixing brackets in juniors. You're going junior 106 to 113.
Mm-hmm.
That shouldn't be happening. Like at an event like this, you should have full brackets where you don't have to mix weights. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm a purist. Maybe I'm stupid. And if I am, Jason, tell me. But you shouldn't have to mix brackets at this type of an event. The only time I ever understand mixing brackets is at like youth tournaments, like small youth tournaments. Like the old Dahlonega Gold Mine Classic every year back in when I was younger. Georgia boys, if you know, you know. I still have 3 of the gold fists that it's a ref raising a guy's hand as the trophy. It's amazing. I have 3 of them. There
All
was
right.
always 1 or 2 brackets where it'd be like 10U74 and 10U78. They'd have to mix them. That makes sense. Not at the Premier National League, sponsored by Rudis on Rockfin. That
Correct.
shouldn't, like, come on now. That's not cricket.
All right, so let's move to NHSCA Duals. And the Duals. So I'm gonna share my screen here just for the people who don't really get a sense of this.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Show them the pools. Nah, show them the pools.
Yeah. So we're here and we've got like, I mean, this is just crazy. Me trying to find Boom Ranch or Morris Fitness or
Storm
or whomever.
Combat.
And, Combat, yeah, another one. And not that's we just mentioned 4 teams that have predominantly Southeast kids. Now there are lots of them. We mentioned Bradley Patterson previously. He was on Flicker Boys. He would have been one of only 3 kids.
Flint Tropics.
Huh?
Yeah. I love the Flint Tropics. That's amazing. Who are the geniuses behind that? Shout out to you guys, whoever you are. Oh, that's kind of funny, actually. That's kind of
So, the good thing is that there's a lot of teams and there's a lot of wrestling going on. From a media perspective, it's a nightmare to try to find any results, to find anything. I was watching Duals and I was, I was able to kind of stream. I love the fact that they stream, but trying to track down a lot of information was super hard. And yeah, anyway, what is your takeaway? Because you were paying attention to the NHSCA Duals as well.
The South did good. I would like to have seen more get into the championship pool, but with SER being there, I feel like it pulled a lot of Southeast talent away from NHSCA that typically might have been there. So it's tough to say. I mean, I kind of feel like we got an abridged version of the Southeast. Quick shout out to Combat Athletics. They got into the championship pool out of North Carolina, so shout out to them, the Lone Rangers that got through. Yeah, it was just. I would like to have seen more Southeast teams, but obviously with Southeast Regionals the same weekend, obviously kids are gonna have to go to SER, a lot of them, for the freestyle purpose of the thing. So I don't know. I'd like to see the schedule done better where that isn't an issue.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you. We were paying close attention. I did pay attention to Storm and a few of the other teams. We could try to track a lot of this stuff down. We're really not going to be able to spend a whole lot of time. I'm not gonna be able to spend a whole lot of time talking about Southeast regionals, or this is going to be super, super long. So,
Yeah.
but as a whole, I agree with you. It did seem to pull away. Southeast regionals had some really good brackets, some really good matchups and things along those lines. Wrestlers that weren't at, we might expect to see a Roundtree or an Ironclad or
A
Gladiator from
Compound.
South Dade or Compound or others at NHSCA Duals, but we don't see them at NHSCA Duals because they were headed elsewhere. So
Yeah.
all right, so let's jump to Southeast Regionals, and I have a few takeaways. That cool?
I'd love to hear them.
All right, so how many different states do you think had at least one champion at Southeast Regionals?
From the Southeast or in general?
From everywhere, from anywhere.
See, because I know there are certain like crews from Maryland, Illinois. You'll see a couple every year. I remember when I was younger, Missouri. Let's go with 11.
So the answer is 15.
Okay.
All right.
right.
Tennessee had the most champions, 76.
That'll be
Georgia
good for
had
their rankings.
Georgia had 64. Florida had 35. Florida did not. It doesn't seem to me that Florida had many that went to Southeast Regionals or NHSCA Duals, and obviously weren't at PNL. So I'm not sure what Florida was doing. Maybe after the weekend of, like we talked about in the intro, after the Florida State Championships last weekend and Spark Nationals, are like, you know what?
Take a week.
That's right. That's right. And it's Memorial Day weekend. So why am I going to go travel to wrestle?
Anyway, I get it.
But further down the list, below North Carolina, South Carolina, Oklahoma had 19 champions.
Gotta ask, did my second favorite state in the Southeast have any champions?
Your second favorite state in Southeast, who is that?
We just added them. Come on now.
Oh, Mississippi. No, they did not have any champions. I don't even know if we were there.
Oh, that's a shame. But in a quick mention of this.
Yes.
Because I want to be sure we mention this. To my Mississippians.
That's right.
I just posted it on SE Wrestle. It is the first, like we're actually, people have been asking him for it. He gave me the nod. Kind of take point a little bit like I do at Georgia. I wrote up a post of the top 5 returning teams in Mississippi based on returning points.
That's right.
Shout out Coach David Sutherland of Van Cleve. Van Cleve, I will be there for your duels later in the year. And Mississippi, I'll be back in the Magnolia State. Hopefully, fingers crossed the schedule works for your individual state tournament. Hell, you might even hear me on a microphone. Just wanted to throw that out there real quick because it's exciting and I want to be sure that it gets out there. But beyond that,
I agree. So
Oklahoma with 19. Shout out to him.
I know, crazy, isn't it? So what's interesting is that you had freestyle, Greco, and folk style, right? And these are the things that kind of stood out to me. So there were a bunch of wrestlers who wrestled just freestyle and Greco. They, like you said a little bit ago, they were in hand locking season. They weren't going to wrestle folk style. So like Anderson Heap, Dominic Bambinelli, Tanner Spalding, William Jakeway, they won it in Greco and freestyle in their weights in juniors, but I don't think they wrestled folk style. And up in 16U, you saw I think it was Xander Dossett, Ryan Moret, Nate Askew, Stone Phillips from Alabama, Chase Walker.
Look, I just remember
there was a bunch.
The only year I did folk style at SCR, I got hit for 4 locked hands calls, and I looked at my mom. I said, "Never again. I'm not doing this." I had 5 matches, got hit for 4 locked hands calls. I was like, "I'm done. I'm not doing this. This is stupid."
All right, so you're there were several. Actually, I'm trying to think of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 16, 21, 23 wrestlers won all three styles. Okay, from 8U to juniors. Most notably, you saw Ryder Wilder win all three styles at 182 and 16Us, right? Blue Stifler won. You know, and I've got a list of the others. A couple other things that stood out to me was I think you might have her on a Fat and Scrappy team. Maybe you don't. I don't know. Cara Dover. Is she on a Fat and Scrappy team?
She is on Team Fierce and Scrappy,
Fierce
going
and
to
Scrappy.
Backyard Brawl. Shout out to Cara Dover.
She had 5 titles. Yeah. 12U 106 folk style, 12U 108 freestyle, 12U 110 girls Greco, 12U 110 girls freestyle, and 12U 107 girls.
Put that demon juice in her water. Mama don't. Jesus.
So she had 5. Carla Ortiz from Florida had 4, and then you had your traditional 3s and that sort of thing. I just want to make sure that I made note that there were several wrestlers who might have made a run for winning the folk style as well, but they chose to wrestle just freestyle and Greco. So, but in all, I will say, like, there were 9 junior weights, 9 weights in juniors that had 20 or more wrestlers. Okay. We had 15 states that had titles, that had winners. So Southeast Regionals, while they were competing in NHSCA Duals and PNL, it sure seems like a lot of people went to Southeast Regions.
I'd love to see comparisons over years, because I know when I was, and again, this is pre-COVID, keep that in mind, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. SCR was a little bit bigger. Like I remember brackets of 30 and 40. Like that was what I lived in. The year I won SCR in both styles, it was, I want to say both of them were 64-man brackets, but it could have been a 32 and a 64. I'm not going to what I remember. Yeah, it was just, but for sure, good numbers. Like, it's not like SCR is pulling 8 kids. Like, there's obviously good numbers there for sure. I mean, SCR is always a great event. It's always fun to see because it's almost kind of like our own little mini Fargo.
Yeah. No, I think Southeast Regionals, and I love your idea of a comparison. And I was going to do that, and I haven't been able to track down the numbers from previous years. We probably have to track them every single year. But one thing we can do is, how do you think the participation in the Southeast Regional compares to Central Plains or Northwest or any of the other places?
You know,
are our brackets the same size? Are they bigger? Are they smaller? What are they?
It's odd because, you know, if I'm about to speak blasphemy for a moment to those who aren't as initiated. I'm telling you this as someone who lived in the Northeast. I lived in New York. I lived in New Jersey. I'm telling you this. Outside of Pennsylvania and pockets in Jersey and in New York, wrestling is a one-season sport. I'm telling you guys this. Other than these very specific pockets, they don't wrestle a lot of freestyle and Greco. Genuinely, if you go look at brackets of Northeast tournaments, take out Pennsylvania for 1 second, because obviously it's a religion. If you look at just Jersey and New York and North, it's rare you see big brackets in that area of the country in the freestyle and Greco season. It really is. Because I remember wrestling in them and having 5-man brackets. And the tournaments that do draw is like, shout out to the tournament I won when I was younger at Tom's River. It was in July. And it was a folk style tournament. Because freestyle and Greco doesn't draw up there the same. It just doesn't. Now, that's all. I'm not saying we're better than the North. That's not where I'm going with this, okay? What I'm saying, let me be clear now. But what I am saying is, numerically speaking, I think the Southeast does stack up. Now, I'm not as familiar with the West. I'm not, like, I don't know the numbers in the West. But I can tell you from experience in the Northeast, it's not I feel like some people look at the Northeast and like think of it as the Thunderdome, where every week it's 200-man brackets, and I'm like, not really like that. Like, really isn't.
Well, we'll have to pull down the numbers and take a look and
Well,
make a
here's the other thing:
comparison. That'll be fun.
Jersey still does a lot of Madison system.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's the thing, is a lot of Jersey and New York is still, everybody weighs in. Hey, first six, you're one bracket. Next six, you're another. That happens a lot.
I
So
like that for little kids, personally.
it happens up. But what I'm saying is, it happens like damn near until they hit schoolboy in a lot of cases.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I've
yeah.
seen it.
All right, so let's continue on with our conversation, and I wanted to let everybody know that we reached out to South Carolina award winners, Cole Schrader from Eastside for Dave Schultz Award, Caroline Gilstrap from Trisha Saunders Award. We weren't able to get either one of them for interviews. I actually wasn't even able to get a response back from Coach Mayholtz at Eastside, but that's okay. We do realize it's the end of school. These are
Yeah.
seniors. They're finishing up. They're ready to go and kind of do their thing and so on and so forth. So shout out to them for winning, but we did miss having them around. All right. So let's now move to this upcoming week. And there are a couple of different events, but the two events that we want to focus on obviously are yours. And we'll wait till the end to talk a little bit about the Don DeSilva Memorial Duals that happened down at Bruton Parker this coming weekend. But also, there's some action out in Ohio with the U23 and U20, the U20 World Team Trials and the U23 Nationals, which I don't think are the World Team Trials. I think there's just the Nationals.
I don't think they are either, but I still don't get how that works.
I'm not 100% sure how it
I'm
works
a little
either.
confuzzled on that.
Yeah. All right. So let's jump into this, and let's start with the U20 World Team Trials in Greco. We have just 5 wrestlers from the Southeast. You had to, in both for U20s for freestyle and Greco, you had to qualify to get to this tournament. So the brackets are actually quite small. And we only have 2 wrestlers from Georgia that are registered, 3 wrestlers from Florida that are registered. And let's start with the smallest weights that we have. Well, okay, the smallest weight, we have somebody from one of these 2 states. Is 67 kilos. Brennan Van Hoke from Florida, who wrestles at Arkansas at Little Rock. He is in a bracket that includes defending world champion Joel Adams, as well as several other individuals who are super, super good. Brendan Van Hoke is a very talented in Greco and everything else, but man, Joel Adams is tough.
Go for it, son. Listen, I'm gonna tell you exactly what Terry Allison said to me when at Fargo in the quarterfinals. I kid you not, Carson Manville coming off of a cadet world title. Go for it, son. I was like, all right, let's see what happens here.
Yeah, I mean, because Adams beat the returning Olympian, right? Wasn't the person the Olympian?
Yes, he beat a returning Olympian.
Yeah, so that's tough. All right, moving up to 72 kilos, we have 2 wrestlers from the Southeast, and Brendan Apton from Florida, and Jeremy Paradise from the state of Georgia. It's a good bracket, and I think both of them really have a legit shot to kind of make a run.
Oh, like 72 kilograms of straight darts and popcorn. I have no clue.
Yeah,
and I'm a Greco guy, so like I do watch a lot of Greco, especially like this kind of crew, because U23, who knows? Depending on the schedule next year, might see me up there, but I don't know. It's a weird bracket. I'm interested to see how they seed it.
Yeah,
because there are certain guys who
somebody is waiting in the finals, right? Waiting for the winner of the tournament.
I think the U.S. Open winner. I think
so too.
I could be wrong.
And was that Richard Fedlin?
Yes, I do
I
believe.
believe so. Yeah. All right, up at 82 kilos, we got Matthew Waddell, and at 97
Shout out.
kilos, Sawyer Bartelt from Florida. So those are the 5 individuals who will be making a run to try to make a world team at U20s in Greco. Freestyle, the number is a little bit larger. Not much, though. And the only name that is a crossover between freestyle and Greco is... You want to take a guess?
Oh, it's Big Mama.
No, Chase isn't wrestled Greco. It's Sawyer Bartelt who's wrestled both Greco and freestyle. Big Mama is wrestling freestyle only, not in Greco.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you didn't understand my question. It's all good.
Yeah, no, okay, I got you now. My fault.
All right. So in freestyle, actually, we have 5 as well. I thought we had 6. Sawyer Bartelt at 97 kilos. You already mentioned Big Mama Chase Horn at 125 kilos.
Big fella.
If you're looking at 125, can you see the 125s in front of you?
I can pull it up in 10 seconds.
That is quite a group of heavyweights.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Horn, Aiden Atau, Christian Carroll, obviously.
Harley
Carter
Andrews,
Neves.
Tuttle.
Oh yeah. Oh. Yeah, that's a fun one. That's a fun little group.
Yeah, that's gonna be a tough group. And I don't know who sits in the finals. I don't know who won out of that group at US Open.
I don't either.
But anyway, let's jump down to 92 kilos. We got Carson Floyd, who wrestled for App State this past year, North Carolina wrestler. That should be a really good, fun weight. And then one weight that I'm really interested in, 79 kilos, because I believe former Georgia Hammer Gabe Arnold sits in the finals at 79 kilos. It includes Rocco Welsh, who he beat at the US Open. But you know who's also there?
Matthew Singleton.
Matty Singleton's at that weight. So have we seen Singleton and Gabe Arnold wrestle?
I don't think they've ever met each other. And that's one of those that's one of those matchups that certain Georgians, when we speak about guys in our weight range, it's, Gabe and Matty. Because they're on obviously a guy like me, I've locked horns with Matty a couple of times. I've never got a chance to wrestle Gabe in a live match, which I would love. But knowing both of them, I am fascinated at the possibility.
Yeah, it should be fun. And then our last one is down at 74 kilos, where we've got Camden Monroe, Richmond Hill, who placed at the US Open, is in the bracket. We see a Mitchell Messenbrink, see a Joe Seeley, see a former Georgian when he was, I think, a much younger Georgian, Tyler Lillard, who is up at Indiana. So I don't know, man. I'm going to ask you this question. Out of the 5 freestylers, Sawyer Bartelt, Matthew Singleton, Chase Horn, Camden Monroe, and Carson Floyd, who is most likely to make a world team?
See, that's tough. And it's a really good question, right? I'm stuck because part of me never ever in my life wants to bet against Chase Horn. It's one of those things where I've watched that kid beat the best. And I've seen it in matches where even if the score was close, we could all tell he was getting torched and he would figure it out. Matty Singleton, man, I know him firsthand. Had a pair of run-ins with him. I know him firsthand. How good that kid is. Wow. And Sawyer, obviously, Jesus. I'm gonna go with Singleton.
Really? Okay. All right.
Because then I could say I have a win over a world team member.
Well, you already do because he made a world team in Greco, remember?
Yeah, fair enough. Change my pick. Chase Horn.
I actually think it probably is Sawyer Bartelt.
I knew you'd say that. That's why I left him. I want to make that clear. I kind of, I see why.
And the only reason being is he's going to wrestle both Greco and freestyle. And I know it's good to be focused in on one particular style and everything else, but these guys they're so used to going out and competing for the entire weekend. and getting matches under your belt before you have to go into another match,
That
I
would
think
be
actually is helpful. I don't think it hurts you at all.
I think it's kid to kid. Like, I don't think it's one size fits all. Like, I for sure think it's more of a like there are some people that could take naps during tournaments. I can't do that. I was never that kid. You know what I mean? So there are some kids that I think it'll help. I think there's some kids it'll hurt. It'll depend on what I mean, obviously Sawyer's gonna know what's best for him.
Agreed. All right. So let's jump to U23. And I'm going to share my screen so Lucas can see it as well. And
Ladies
everybody,
and gentlemen, for anyone that might be coming to my tournament, I assure you this is not sick. This time of year in Georgia kicks my tail. I hate this time of year. Like, this
true.
late spring, early summer murders me.
All right. So, can you see what
Yes, I
U23s?
can. Yes.
All right. So we got a group from Alabama at the top, the Wyatt boys and Will Miller.
Shout
we got
out.
a group here from Florida. Probably the most interesting name out of this group from Florida. Well, Ryan Cody, I think, took second in Fargo and Greco.
Raina to me sticks out.
Raina. Yeah, we haven't heard Brettly's name very much, have we? Since he's been up in Iowa. But
I mean, he's been in the dungeon at Iowa, getting ready to be unleashed on somebody at some point.
Yeah, so 70 kilos. That means that, man, Brettly's he's still pretty small. I mean, what did he wrestle in high school? Like 45, 52?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. All right. Moving up, we've got our Georgia contingent, large Georgia contingent.
Yes, sir.
Who out of this group? Now, what do you notice here?
I mean,
U23 freestyle, Jeremy Paradise, but he's wrestling U20 Greco World Team Trials.
I mean, look, that kid wants matches at all times. First off, the one that jumps off to me up top here, Julian Farber sticks off the page.
Oh yeah.
As well, Dominic DiTomaso, Team Fat and Scrappy alumni. He's going both styles this weekend.
Yeah.
And then obviously some other, I mean, for me, a guy like Cole Tennedy or Kevin Reynolds, Red out of NAIA programs, Reinhardt and Granby, respectively. Sam Harris, another Team Fat and Scrappy alum. So, lots of interesting names from Georgia. Lots of interesting names.
I agree. All right, so let's take a look at the North Carolina crew, which has quite a few. And the thing that stands out to me, look at all those Wolfpack Wrestling crew, and we won't get you started. I know. Just hold on to it. And the Boone RTC. Now, the Boone RTC, almost all of those jokers are from North Carolina.
See, but here's my issue. All right, see this kid here, Ed Scott, Pillar. Dude is a Pennsylvania state champion. He's not a North Carolinian.
I know.
Well, dude, smell this. No, the bollocks.
All right, so out of the North Carolina crew that are native North Carolinians.
So that gets rid of these guys. All right, moving on.
Well, not all of them. So Christian Knopp, right there.
Okay. So Killer.
Christian Knopp was an Alabama kid.
So doesn't count.
I know, but he's still southeast.
God, I love this.
Still southeast. All right. Who's the most interesting in this group? And I'll give you one as well. I'll give you two.
Let me say Tristan Norris at Boone.
Tristan Norris, yeah.
Yeah. He's the one that I mean, so that's the thing is like there are certain people that North Carolina I'm not as familiar with. I mean, my head says, oh yeah, Ryan Jack, but he's not North Carolinian. Like,
I got you. All right. So I'm going to go. So Ethan Oakley stepped in and wrestled really well this year for App State when Carter went down with an injury. Interested to see him wrestle. And then I'm really interested, Caleb Campos, who now wrestles at American. It'll be interesting to see how he competes. Obviously, there's a ton of wrestlers here. Nate Dugan, who wrestles up at Princeton.
Dugan.
But definitely one to watch. Anyway,
see,
all right.
Wait.
Yeah.
Go back to that. Go back to Dugan for a second. Highlight him. Ladies and gentlemen, this immediately refutes the whole thing of, well, if they're at NC State, they have to represent North Carolina. New Jersey RTC, state of North Carolina. That's all I wanted to say. We can move on now. Sorry.
Okay, but they get to pick what state they're from.
I'm thinking what could be happening. Because I'm not from Alaska if I say I am.
All right, South Carolina.
Moving swiftly along.
A handful. What do I love about this? Charleston RTC. Love that the Citadel has a bunch of wrestlers headed out to compete at U23 Nationals. They're all
Obviously.
freestyle, but it's still pretty cool to see them all going out to compete. That's pretty awesome. And then our last group down here with the state of Tennessee. Let's see. What is a name that kind of stands out to you on that group? Do you have one?
Cooper Flynn.
No doubt.
Dylan Urachuk. I think that's how you say his name. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that.
Daniel. Yeah, Daniel Urachuk.
And then here's a fun one for me. A kid that I wrestled against a number of times in youth, Gavin Cagle, whose name dropped off the face of the earth when his dad got redeployed, because I believe his dad was military.
Huh, really?
So,
okay.
and I think he went to like Hawaii after Georgia, because he went to Mill Creek, one of the middle schools, for a while. Like,
well, he ended up back at what, McAllen?
I don't know. So the thing is, I completely So you gotta remember, I would have been going to Jeff Bedard's Elite Training Center still. So to date myself, this is pre it being compounded north, ladies and gentlemen. So, but I just remember Gavin Cagle fell off the face of the earth, and I never saw the kid again. And all of a sudden, I heard his name get brought up. I was like, oh, he's back, and he was at Tennessee somewhere. So I'm happy to see him competing in the freestyle and Greco season.
So the one that stands out to me is Mason. I don't know how to say Mason's last name.
Reach? Yeah.
Okay, wrestled for Baylor, went to Cornell, right? But now he's repping Oregon State. So he must have headed out to Oregon State and be training out there.
So Oregon State.
Oh, shit.
But represent the... No, because people are yelling at me like, oh, no, someone was like, well, if they represent Wolfpack, they have to represent North Carolina. No, they don't.
Well,
that's my whole point.
So, U20 World Team Trials, U23 Nationals this weekend in Ohio. Definitely something that you should keep an eye on. There is a lot of Southeast talent on at least a register. Hopefully they'll make the brackets and that sort of thing. Just because you're registered doesn't mean you'll necessarily be there. And then, well, you got a smile on your face for it. You went and got something. Did you go and get something?
I got a prop, yeah.
He's got a prop. You got a prop for your Don DeSilva Memorial Duals?
Now, I haven't put the top on it yet because there's a very special piece that's going on top. But this is this is going to be the trophy everybody's fighting for this weekend at Bruton Parker College. And Jason, unlike you doing it, oh, I can't. I was going to share my screen.
Oh, I can help you share your screen.
Well, no, it says host disabled participant screen sharing. You sunk my battleship. Well, you took the punchline.
I could probably do it.
What I was going to show you guys was the schedule for the event.
Can you share it now?
I can. So,
all right.
I hope you guys.
I love
this is the official schedule for the Don DeSilva Memorial Duels. One note: doors will be opening at 8 a.m. instead of 9. Like a little typo there. But 8 teams at the events, 4 mats. And the rounds, we randomly generated the rounds and the matchups. I tried to put what I think was going to come out to be the best duel each round on mat 1. Yeah, I mean, the first team, Fat and Scrappy, we run into Morse Fitness 1. You got Money Team and Reverence. That's a Louisiana, South Carolina matchup. Then the one for me that's a lot of fun is round 3. when we wrestle Compound. For me, with my history with Cliff and Compound, that's a fun one for me. I'm just really excited, man. Specialized Sasquatch medals to kids that go undefeated. I'm not going to show you what we have for the OW. We have something pretty special planned for the OWs that's going to be voted on by the coaches in attendance. We have something pretty special. I'll leave that for the event. But yeah, I'm just super excited that there's so much going on, and there's a couple of real fun matchups that as teams have started to put in their lineups, I kind of been eyeballing that. I'm like, ooh, we have some fun this weekend.
That's awesome. Is it? Are you streaming it on anything, or is it
We
not?
couldn't figure. Sadly, that was the one thing we
Okay.
weren't able to do this year, which I wanted to try figure it out, but in the end, it just didn't. It didn't work out where we could do it because of a licensing agreement. There are a whole bunch behind the scenes stuff. It couldn't work on my end through the school, but hopefully, next year. The other thing is, obviously, we were going through a coaching change at the same time, so it was tough for us to really coordinate. When I was only coordinating with our AD, who was basically telling me, well, that would be the head coach's decision, which makes sense, by the way. Like, I'm not blaming Dooley because Dooley did everything in his power to make sure everything ran as smoothly as possible. But hopefully next year, after we do it this year and we kind of get the run and we see how it all works, next year we'll be able to do a lot more additives and it
Well,
add to the
yeah,
to
it's
the
not a big deal. I mean, what I plan on being there, I'm going to take some video of some select matches, maybe not the
yeah.
entire duel, and we'll try to post those and share them and everything else. So they wrestle what, 4 times on day 1, 3 times on day
Yep.
2?
4 times on day 1, 3 times on day 2, award ceremony at the end of day 2. I think what we're gonna do is a kid has to go 4-0 to be considered undefeated. Because I know there's 1 or 2 kids that actually won't be there on Saturday for different reasons. So if a kid goes undefeated on day 1, I don't want to take it from them. But yeah, so 4-0, and I'm excited. It's gonna be a lot of fun. At the end, I mean, uh, the idea behind this tournament was kind of I don't want to say a drunken thought, but a thought over a late night cup of coffee with my mother, where it's just like, fungal, if you try this, let's see. Let's just see if it even would go anywhere. And then, a couple months later, had enough teams where it was like, oh, okay, this is doable. Like this makes sense to do. So yeah.
Got it. Awesome. Awesome. Well, I can't wait for it to happen. Hopefully everybody will tune in a week from when you're watching this. We'll hopefully have some video of the event and some of the matches. Also probably try to post a bunch of different pictures and matches as well. And just to give you guys a heads up, Lucas and I will then also next week, after we break down that duel or his duels, Don DeSilva Duals, we will delve into what should be some outstanding 14U and 16U USA wrestling duels. These teams, they have put together some teams, and I'll tell you what, Lucas and I have been working on it on behind the scenes, and we're gonna post some things onto scwrestle.com. And I think that there's a couple teams that could really could make some noise out in 14U and 16U duels. So
I think so too. I think that there's gonna be some teams, and maybe not even the teams people assume. Where I'm like, hey, wait a minute now. We might have to watch for these guys here or girls. Like it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no
I'm
doubt.
Georgia's girls team is. Oh, we're not even. We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, 14U and 16U duels are next. Well, it'll be previewed because they'll start actually middle of the week, right after we drop the next episode. So it'll happen very quickly. And then you're alluding to the girls, which happened with the juniors the following week.
Yeah.
And everything else. And I'll tell you, looking at the lineups for 16U and 14U duels, especially 16U and juniors and the girls, they are pretty good indicators of who is going to do well in Fargo. And
typically the guys guys and girls who get on a good run at Fargo, typically, or at duels, typically speaking, if you go look at their Fargo results, you'll see that it's almost kind of momentum. You go to duels, you have a good duels section, you're like, okay, yeah, I can compete. And then you go out to Fargo, you see a lot of the same guys anyways.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, man. So that was a lot to cover this week. PNL, Southeast Regionals, NHSCA Duals. Apologize that we didn't get to mention everybody's name. I know that there were some fantastic individual performances. Colson Hoffman beat Christian Fretwell at Southeast Regional.
Pull. Yes. Woo! Yeah, baby! Woo!
In Greco, I believe. Mason Jacob, Antonio Mills. I mean, it was just stacked at 120 and juniors. There was just some outstanding individual matchups. Sorry we didn't get to all of them. Make sure you go, and if you are able to, go watch some of those matches because they were fantastic. Lucas,
Agreed.
can't wait to see you, man. We'll break it down on Friday, take a lot of pictures, and have a good time.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm excited.
All right. I'll see you then.